horrifying acts. In the background, they're using phrases of Quran. And also while slaughtering people, doing act of terrorism, they're using terms like Allahu Akbar. So I want Shaykh to guide us in regards to this. Thank you.
I mean, the point, Akhi, is very simple. That the call to violence must be questioned a million times, not just one time. Somebody who calls you to violence or hate, you got to question him a million times. It doesn't matter what people say. Slogans don't matter. Slogans don't matter. What people assume, that doesn't matter. What matters is the essence of call. So definitely, I mean, I would like to warn you from violence in general. Regardless who calls you, regardless who his name is, regardless what he is.
Who are Khawarij? Is it? I have heard in many places that the ISIS and Al-Qaeda people belong to the Khawarij tribe, and also the family of the South. So I just wanted to know who are Khawarij.
Alright. Now, Khawarij are those, obviously, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned in the authentic hadith, as you know, يَمْرِقُونَ مِنَ الدِّينِ كَمَا تَمْرِقُ السَّهْمُ كَمَا يَمْرِقُ السَّهْمُ مِنَ الرَّمِيَّةِ. They'll exit the deen just like the arrow exits its target. So anyone who fulfills this, the first thing that Ahl Sunnah called Khawarij are those who split from the army of Sayyidina Ali and Safin. Those are the first people we call Khawarij. So now after them, the reason they were called Khawarij is because they exited. Also because they were takfiris. Takfiri means they declared everyone else other than them kafir, mushrik. And this is radicalism, so that's the whole point. So when people say that these violent organizations are Khawarij, they mean they have Khariji fikr, Khariji thoughts or ideologies. Which means what? Which means saying that the other person is not Muslim and therefore doesn't deserve to live.
Since, for example, adultery is stoned and violence is used for punishing people who commit sins, that's again a form of violence. So I do not know how to deal with that kind of a question. Like I totally agree to the punishment that in Sharia. I do not question that. But for an outsider, for a better understanding, how do I help?
So, like all Abrahamic faith systems, and there's always something that in the criminal justice system, punishments that somebody may view as cruel. Locking you up for 25 years or 30 years for a little crime that someone does might be viewed as very cruel and inhumane. So this is a relative thing. What is viewed? Yes, surely there is a criminal justice system that Islam put in optimal conditions. And in optimal conditions, it means that in conditions that are fulfilled, etc., 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 etc. And then when you look at the time of the Prophet ﷺ and how often that was practiced, you take an actual understanding of how things were. And it made it so much into these things, examples that you brought, it made Islam stipulated so many conditions that made it almost impossible to apply it. That's one. But it's there as a deterrent. But that's not only Islam. I mean, if you want to argue that point, you've got to argue the Old Testament. You got to argue the New Testament. You got to argue other also punishment systems that are in jails everywhere in the world today that could be considered inhumane. And so I think Islam put a system as a deterrent towards crime. And when it comes to actual sort of violence in the sense, or actual the criminal justice system, it stipulated such high conditions that are almost impossible to be met, and Allah knows best.
Question. Somebody called to our youth to terrorism and they give the legal desire from certain وَكِتَبْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ فِيهَا أَنَّ النَّفْسَ بِالنَّفْسِ وَالْعَيْنَ بِالْعَيْنِ. Can you explain about this?
The hudud or practicing the criminal justice system, manuta, is a job of an Islamic system that exists, a just, adil, Islamic system that establishes it, not in the hands of people. Because the people may not know what justice is to start with, they may not know what Islam is collectively to start with. You don't take the law into your own hands. In that sense. We have a responsibility, especially you here in India, because you live in a society that's diverse. You've got lots of different people with you. It's multicultural. To transform yourself and bring back the old ways of the Indian Sufis. Sultan al-Hind, Mawlana Mu'in radiyallahu anhu, qaddasa sirrahu wa rahmatullahi alayh. The love that he brought. What was among the main things that Sayyidina Shaykh Mu'in used to say? Love for all, malice towards none. Come, whoever you are, let me give you love. Love for all, malice towards none. Unconditional mercy for all, malice towards none. Compassion for all, malice towards none. People today need love. They don't need rituals. Today we don't live in a world of rituals anymore. You have technology and everything. People need true love. They don't need shakil. They need jawhar. They need insight. We need to start internalizing that love. And I believe mercy and violence are opposites. Like light and darkness. If you turn the light on in a room, darkness runs and escapes. If you turn the light of mercy and compassion and love, trust me, violence will run away. There will be no violence. We on this side, let me just finish with that saying, we need to do more. We need to demand more. Demand more of our scholars and demand more of our masses, because it's not one way. Scholars cannot do miracles without the masses also being there, and without the business people also putting in quality and quantity from that which they love most for the deen of Allah. Today we need examples like Uthman al-Ghani radiallahu anhu, like Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, like Abdul Rahman bin Auf radiallahu anhu. We don't need people who give Allah what's left. We need people who give Allah what's right. If you don't have money, give time. You don't have time, give from your ilm. You don't have ilm, give from whatever. Just give, because giving is living. The youth that go astray and fall victims, we have to look at the community. The community has not done something right. Not all the time, but we need to do better. Because lots of people are trying to abuse Muslim youth. They're trying to abuse them, brainwash them into killers, brainwash them into hateful people. You have to worry about what your children, what your family hear. Just like you don't want me to put diesel in your petrol car because I destroy the engine and ruin it for you. Be careful what goes in the minds of your children, because that may ruin their own intellect, and that's much more valuable than your car. So that nobody comes and preys on the weak and the unstable and all these things. Still, we are Muslims like everybody else. We're human beings. Violence is not native to Islam, nor is it consistent with its ethics and codes. Islam is a deen of peace and love and unconditional compassion. We don't have to tell people that, but we need ourselves to model that. We need to have it internalized, because others learn best by observational learning, not by, here's a book, read about Islam. Islam is peace. People don't want to read books. People want to see compassion in action. People want to see love in action, forgiveness in action. So, I leave you with this, inshallah ta'ala, and remember, always, it helps me personally, when something happens, what would the Prophet ﷺ do? How would he respond? How would he respond? Today we have a responsibility before our youth to give them good information, valid information, to bring them to the vastness of the rahmah of Allah and the rahmah of Rasulullah. Not to deprive them from the mercy. To call them to the deen, not to groups. To call them to the Quran and Sunnah as a standard. And to connect them. Their ta'alluq must be with Allah and His Messenger. Yes, we love the awliya. We love the salihin. We love the sahaba. We love Ahl al-Bayt. We love them all. But we want the youth to have ta'alluq and attachment to Allah. Ta'alluq and attachment to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We want them to become Muhammadis, Rabbanis. Then we have done our job. We have to be serving the deen, not having the deen serve us and our ambitions.